A day of mini commits. The Badgers got their quarterback. Maybe they fixed defense line. We're going to talk about biggest needs going forward and have all of these guys talk about the quarterback addition to the Badgers. Are they satisfied with what Wisconsin has done this offseason? Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. We got all three of us on here. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for tuning in, as always. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers get $5 bet. You get started with 150 in bonus bets guaranteed. If you win your first $5 bet, go over to FanDuel.com to get started. Rajiv, Justin, I'm only going to play this once, but in theory, I could play this 6 times.
Fire the recruiting cannons. Another one is headed to Madison on Wisconsin.
That really should be the time I loop it, but I didn't. So I did a live show right after it hit. I kind of have just do that type of thing. So I've kind of talked about Edwards. I want to kick it over to you two guys. Rajiv, just going clockwise, you're kind of next up there. Thoughts on Billy Edwards Jr., the quarterback commit coming over from Maryland?
Yeah, I was convinced from the guy that's down below me on the screen that this was not a good move yesterday because he was feeling a certain way about it. But
you want me? You weren't convinced by me?
No, I wasn't.
I was more passionate.
I will say this. So today I watched a lot of Maryland football. And I spent a ton of time watching it. I think, by the way, Big Ten in 60 minutes is a really good way to watch some of those games. Look, I think that when Jeff Grimes got hired, we talked about how this was like a safe floor raising type of a hire. And I feel like that's permeating now through the transfer portal in every way. D-line we're going to talk about, and including quarterback. Billy Edwards is not the top end guy that I think that a lot of Badger fans were hoping for, but I think it's a floor raiser. When I watch this guy, I immediately think Luke Fickell is trying to stop the bleeding at this program, okay? Because NIL money and former players, there's just so much smoke around the program that he's like, all right. We know we've got good recruiting classes coming up, but we need to solve the right now, which is why, to be fair, that's what they've been trying to do in 3 transfer quarterbacks in a row. But I think this is a floor-raising type of a guy. The one thing that I will say right off the bat after watching the film today, he is better than Braden Locke. To me, that is clear as day, and it's not close. The eye test is what I look at with quarterbacks. He can look. The guy can make all the throws. He can hit those deep outs with accuracy. He can throw the long ball. A lot of the film is just short checkdowns. It's one read and check down. So there's not a ton of is he reading the defenses? Is he going through multiple reads throughout the same play? Is he moving in the pocket a little bit? I wanted to see a little more, but Maryland ran a very get the ball, get rid of the ball type of an offense. So you can't see that much, but he is very mobile. Very mobile. He's really good at escaping pressures. He's really good at creating offense out of a broken play. His offensive line was complete trash last year. Gosh, Maryland's line was really, really bad. And the running game was bad. So I'm not saying he's perfect, but he's better than Locke. And so what would we have done last season with a quarterback that was better than Locke? We probably would have won 6, maybe 7 games. We would have won 6. So to me, this is the guy that gets you back to close to 7 wins, even with the brutal schedule that we have. It's a bridge to Carter Smith. That's what this is. And I'm perfectly fine with it. I didn't love it at first, but when I watched the film, I'm thinking, okay, he reminds me of the old school Wisconsin teams that had good defense and a good running game, right? The Cones, the Staves, the those kinds of guys, right? The Hornybrooks. I just feel like he's one of those guys. He's not going to be not a super high ceiling, high floor. I'm okay with it. I think it's the safe bet for Luke Fickell and Jeff Grimes. I understand why they did it.
Okay, so I promised I wouldn't go negative when I came on the show.
You don't have to not do that. I just told you can't yell at me.
So, okay, perspective on this. I'll go physical tools right off the bat. He's got a live arm, good frame, 6'3". He is mobile. I look at this, and when we've seen good quarterbacks in college football, typically, and I realize the line was not good, but typically if you're a good quarterback in college, it shows regardless, and it shows by you make plays still. We had how many guys that we've seen in the past that just find a way, even when situations aren't optimal, to make things happen. he doesn't have that in his bag. Is he going to be better than Locke? Yes, he'll be better than Locke. I struggle with him because there are guys that I thought were in the portal that I think have more upside. And I think that if you're Fickell, you need to start looking for being good rather than just settling for, well, we're just going to get this stabilized. Because let's be honest, if you got a quarterback that's capable of being good this next season, that puts you in play for some games that you probably weren't considering. I'm not sure Edwards puts you in those games. He's not – I don't want to say the guy's not a winner because the ecosystem was not good, but they didn't play the who's who of the Big Ten on their schedule last year, and the team still was not good. That's a team that probably should have still won 3 Big Ten games and just didn't.
The defense was really bad, Justin, too.
Yep. I mean, at some point, the quarterback's got to make plays, and he's going to be one to raise. And that's what I'm talking about with him is he just doesn't seem to have that. And statistically, you kind of look at it, and I get frustrated when people take a look at a guy like this and they're like, well, these are the things that really stand out. He's got a really fast release, and he avoids pressure. One of the things I'll say about pressure is simple. We just discussed it. He throws a ton of 5-yard routes where it's basically get the ball and get rid of it. So, yes, guys are probably breaking through. It may still be a pressure, but he's basically throwing it in time. That's where it's supposed to go. I do think there's a little bit of upside there because he does have physical tools. And I do think within this offense, he's going to be asked to do far less than what he was asked to do at Maryland, which is going to be a big deal for him. You're going to lean on your running backs. He's going to have some pressure release valves in the tight end that they just brought in. Tanner Koziol is going to be a guy that is really going to help him. In the playoffs. You have running backs that are going to be it, plus receiving threats, and a guy like Dupree. And you have wide receivers a couple of slot guys who I think will be able to kind of, run similar routes and get open and drag routes and stuff like that and rub routes. This offense is capable of making him functional and solid to good if things come together. He's got to be better than what he was at Maryland in terms of some of the things that don't show up from a physical standpoint. His decision-making, sometimes when he gets pressure in his face, he does throw the ball up for grabs a little bit, and he does take some risks on some shots where you're kind of like, maybe that's not the best throw.
I would just say that he was kind of forced into making some of those crazy decisions. As I watched some of the games later in the season, they had no running game. They were behind a lot in games due to their defense. He had to try to play hero ball a little bit. That being said, I actually think he had 9 interceptions and 420 pass attempts. That he doesn't turn the ball over a lot, and I feel like he's pretty safe with it. He's good about just taking the check down when he needs to. He's good about throwing it away when he needs to. He does a pretty good job of not putting the ball in harm's way. And of course, the sack avoidance and the sack fumble avoidance. And I do think that he's kind of a safe bet all around. That's really if you ask me to describe him in one word, I'd say safe. That's just how I describe it, because I think it's safe from as far as his ability, and it's safe the way he plays football. And if we're going to have a better running game, and we have a way better offensive line than they did, he is going to be able to be comfortable a bit more than he was, which should even improve his numbers. He did have a 65% completion percentage. He did throw 15 touchdowns and 9 picks. I know the Big Ten numbers were different. I know that the stuff that you did, Justin, it's very fair, but he had to do a lot more in the Big Ten season because he was getting absolutely no production from the rest of his team.
And that's fair.
I would also say, really quick, I would also say, the more I've thought about this, the more I just feel like this is, first of all, in the portal, I hear you, Justin, you want more of an upside guy. You want maybe a guy who can deliver against better competition at a little higher clip. It's really hard to find the perfect guy in the portal, right? Especially at our budget. So there's not really a perfect guy we were going to find. If you wanted a Pribula type guy from Penn State, then you're sacrificing the experience. And that's more of a risk in some ways. I think if you're going to start a brand new offensive coordinator, you're bringing him here. You also want a quarterback that has experience. I really don't think you're trying to break in a young quarterback with a new offensive coordinator in a season that Fickell has to win, right? Because if you bring a young guy in and he doesn't hit, I think with Edwards, you at least kind of know the floor. You at least kind of know what he can give you. You know he's going to be able to run RPO. You know he's seen the Big Ten. You know he's been scouted and schemed against, and he's done okay with that. I just think there's a lot less risk here. And Fickell needs a quarterback this year. I want to put this comment up. Roger Dodger responding to a comment you made, Justin. He said 7 wins. I guess we're going for a C+. Yeah. Because last year,
I'm gonna be blunt on that right now. 7 wins would be like an A- for this group. Like, this is a very young team coming into this year that you are still kind of putting Band-Aids on. This is not he's got 4 recruiting cycles in, and it's all his guys that were handpicked out of high school and the high-end guys. Like, I really like some of the guys that they're bringing in this portal, but they're not guys I look at and say, this guy's going to be an all-conference player. They're guys I look at and say, I think the defensive line can be solid this year versus a train wreck last year. You know, maybe we go from being 165 yards a game we're giving up to 125, which is a significant difference for this team, and that's a big deal. So if we can get to that point, what I will say about Edwards that I'm a little concerned with, I need to see him be able to make plays when they need him to make plays to win games. Because there's going to be several games this year that are probably going to be coin flips. We may need a drive where he needs to make a play either with his legs or with his arm, that he's going to have to do it. And yes, Maryland was bad. I'm praying that he didn't pick up a bunch of bad habits at the end of last season that bleed over into this year that cause him to make some bad decisions.
I think he has shown some of that, Justin, especially with his legs. When he needs to, like he was pretty much the only thing they really had.
He'll
so,
break
their Felton, their wide receiver was pretty good. But yeah, I mean, I think that he has shown a little bit of that. He has played better late in games. I mean, look at Locke in the Oregon game. We needed him to have pretty much a pulse, and we would have won that game. Like it was pretty rough. Regarding the 7 wins. Look, the schedule is murderous next year. This is a bridge to 26 when Carter Smith is playing or Mabry is playing, and you've got a much lighter schedule. And 26, 27, I think, is when Luke Fickell's eyeing up a chance to get into the dance and get into the playoff. And I think this is a bridge to that, to frankly calm us down almost, like to fans and to alumni and everyone that are out there like, hey, you know, this is, you gotta stop the bleeding. I think that's what this is. And I think that's the entire portal class, by the way, is like that, right? I mean, he said we need to get bigger on defense. He's doing that. We need to obviously use the tight end more. He's done that. Like, he is doing what he legitimately thinks is going to raise the floor of this team and stop the bleeding, get us back to a bowl, get us back to like, okay, we're okay. Yes, we're going to get better when we get these other guys, young guys, developed and everything, but we can't have another 5-win season. We can't have a 4-win season. That's going to just tank things down. This sort of sets it up to prevent it. Doesn't guarantee anything, but that's what he's trying to do, and I respect the move.
Hold on, Justin. I see you're about to say something. We got to take a break, friends of the show. And then I want to get back. I want to get grades on this too. What would you give the grade for Billy Edwards, that recruitment we're getting in the defensive line? Who's quarterback number 2? We've got a couple questions about that. I will also point out, I feel like this sets up for Carter Smith. You know, this is a bridge guy, and then you can turn it over to Carter Smith. If you got a younger guy with more eligibility, you do run the risk of taking off a Carter Smith or a guy like that. All right, let's take a quick break for our friends of the show. We're going to get back with all of that, including the grade for the Billy Edwards pick. Let me know what your grade is in the chat as well. It is that time of the year. We are there. College football playoffs is back with an expanded 12-team format. It's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting, high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T, 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into our first matchup, the Southern Methodist University Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. And maybe someday we will be there.
Oh, yes.
We got beat to the playoff by SMU.
And Indiana. Unbelievable.
And Indiana, yeah.
Really quick, lightning question on this, because we can't spend a ton of time on it. Who are you guys cheering for, Indiana or Notre Dame? Because I'm shocked. I'm shocked that people are cheering for Notre Dame.
I hate Notre Dame.
To me, this is a silly comment. It's Notre Dame.
No, why?
Absolutely not.
Hold on. First of all,
I almost just removed you from the chat. I'm sorry.
First of all, I always root for Big Ten teams, and I really do. But man, and I've been open about this all year. The Indiana thing just bothers me. It bothers me that they got to the playoffs and we never got there. It bothers me that their 1 year of greatness just popped us up there. I understand those who don't like Notre Dame. I don't love Notre Dame, but I do like them more than I like IU. And I'm from Indiana. I did watch a little Notre Dame growing up. I'm not a fan, but yeah, I'm rooting for Notre Dame.
That's un-American. You're literally rooting for the bully. That's gonna the bully elitist jerk.
I'm with Ryan on this one.
Never. Okay, let's shift gears.
One thing I wanted to bring up regarding this portal class that I think people are kind of looking at this team and they don't seem to understand. The attitude and culture within this program right now is broken. And it showed the last 2 seasons when we saw the way this team performed in games where they needed to find a way to be confident and get going. Some of the guys that they're bringing in, guys like Reiger, guys like Petersen, guys like a couple of the other guys that are bringing in, they're coming from good quality programs that were winning programs that had good culture. And they're guys that are intense. They're guys that are bringing a mentality into this program that badly needs to be put back into it and really is huge for the young guys. The young guys need to see how that attitude can carry you as a team through games when things aren't going perfect. Because I think everyone would agree the last couple seasons, when things went sideways, this team just collapsed. They just died. And you need guys that understand, hey, sometimes things are going to go a little sideways for a little bit. You need to move past it, and you got to keep playing hard. And that's something that we've struggled with recently. So that's the goal with some of these guys that they're bringing in too.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to that defensive line class too. I agree. There's some try-hard guys, and I don't mean that in a bad way in that room, that I think are going to help. I do want to get your guys' opinion. If you had to grade the Edwards pickup, what grade would you give it? In fact, throw O'Neal in there too. So we haven't even talked about Daniel O'Neal. He's the other quarterback coming in, freshman, started at San Diego State, started 11 games last year, coming in 6 foot, a little more mobile than Locke, but similar size. If you had to grade the quarterback room, Justin, we'll start with you. I know you said maybe incomplete, but if we throw O'Neal in there, what would you give that quarterback transfer portal room?
I would probably give Edwards, to me, is a C+, B- kind of guy. And I think that I'm not as high on O'Neal as some other people are. I think he's kind of Braden Locke with a little bit more mobility. I don't love the frame. The arm isn't huge. He seems like a plucky guy who's going to play hard, but I'm not sure. Like, he's not a guy that I'm super comfortable with necessarily leading my team long term. I just think he lacks upside. Overall, the 2 guys that probably have the highest ceilings are both redshirt freshmen and a true freshman. So we'll see where that goes. So I'd probably give the room overall B- right now. I really like some of the young guys, but they're a long ways from playing.
These transfers in general, I'm giving a B- to. The room I would put a little higher than that, but I'd say these are a B-, maybe even B. I think that, first of all, you got 2 guys who played last year. That's number one. Like, both guys actually played, which that's pretty good. You got 2 guys with actual college experience. So Danny O'Neal is definitely a guy that's going to be competing in the future. He's not the guy next year. We'll talk about who number 2. There's obviously some debate there. And this is obviously at this point Billy Edwards' team. Carter Smith's really the future. So, yeah, I mean, if Billy Edwards goes down, gosh, we really can't have the 3rd year in a row of a transfer quarterback having an injury issue. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, knock on wood, man.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I just did. But I think that at least you're bringing in a guy that has the experience. So that's why I'm going to give it a little higher. And I think that the staff did what the staff wanted to do. I've said this about Greg Gard. I've said it about a lot. I respect when coaches have a plan and they execute it. And whatever you think of the plan is one thing, but at least Fickell's out there saying, like, look, this is what I want. This is what I think we need. This is what I'm going to go out and get. And it's a clear message about raising the floor of the program and where we are. So I do think that I respect what he's done. That's why it's a B for me.
I think it's a B. I'm right there with you. I don't think it's a home run. I've talked about it. I've talked about the things I don't love about it. But I think you got 2 guys who started a lot of games. I'm telling you right now, the staff views Edwards as a really nice fit for Grimes. And that's part of it. This is all part of just Rajiv. Rajiv, you talked about this. Part of a plan. Like, this doesn't feel as ad hoc as maybe it's been in the past. They feel like Grimes is a better fit for Wisconsin. And there was a mistake made with.
I don't think there's any doubt in that.
And they also feel like this quarterback, Edwards, is a better fit for Grimes. Grimes is going to have more talent around him than he had at Maryland. And quite frankly, the talent around Edwards is going to be growing as well, because those freshman running back are sophomores. I like the offensive line next year. You add Koziol, you add Grimes. I think it's a B. I really do. And I don't know what Wisconsin realistically could have done a ton better. That's also part of it because we don't have the coffers that some other schools have.
Yep.
I mean, I think there's more there from a quarterback standpoint that they would be willing to do. I would agree across the board, but I think that with what we have from an NIL standpoint, I think they'd be willing to dive in because that's a position that you actually get value for, provided it's somebody that worth going after. Like a Mendoza type guy would have been worth, going big dollar because he raises your ceiling potentially to a point where, I mean, what would you conceivably give him? I would say I think he could give this team 8 wins. I think he's capable of being good enough to upset somebody that you probably wouldn't have saw as a win.
As a ceiling, yeah.
Yeah.
I like Mendoza. He was my top guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if Mendoza would choose Georgia or Indiana or some other schools over us, though.
I feel like Indiana's going to be the team. His brother's playing there.
This is why I want them to lose. I can't.
I understand that. Believe me. I made the comment offline in the Discord. I'm like, who did Signetti sell his soul to? I'm like, he's got everything just seems to be coming up roses for him.
So I did want to bring up one thing, and the comment that you just had up there from Kevin about this is like the TVD conversation. I think this is a really fair point discussion to bring up because, to be honest, the last couple of years we have said pretty much the same thing. Like I said this last year, this is a bridge to Mabry, right? I said TVD is a bridge to Mabry, and I'm saying that this guy, Edwards is a bridge to Carter Smith. The difference, obviously, is Grimes, and I think that like the mistake clearly was made. Longo's offense has not worked here as much as we wanted it to, as much as we were going to be positive about. Oh, it could work. It never worked. And it was never going to work. So, but Grimes' offense, I think we all feel pretty comfortable about how it raises the floor and how it's a much more fitting to what we have. It uses the strength of our offensive line. He's an offensive line guy. It's back to Wisconsin roots. That, to me, is the right way to bridge to the future with more athleticism in the 24 and 25 classes and whenever we get through 26. So I do think it really makes a difference. I hear the argument that it's basically like what TVD was and Tanner Mordecai was, but I think it's different now because a lot more pieces are changing, not just the quarterback.
Well, and Edwards has a better athletic profile than TVD did.
It's close.
Like you can look at the things that were problems for Van Dyke, and you would probably agree to an extent that Edwards is similar in terms of like he can be turnover prone. He is far more athletic.
Mm-hmm.
Probably has a little less arm than TVD, but I think he actually has an above average arm for college. So, I mean, the athletic profiles there, there's more versatility with him, which in turn makes the offense more flexible and dynamic because of that fact for Grimes. Van Dyke would not have been a good fit for this because even though he can keep the ball on an option, I don't want him keeping the ball and running it on an option. Just like he can run straight up the field and that's it. It's kind of like watching Locke do it. And he runs 8 feet and then just dove to the ground.
Yeah, TVD's wild, man. TVD's pretty fast, but he literally, if you put him in front of the iceberg, he would hit it just like the Titanic. Like he's not getting out of the way. He cannot move.
And it's not because it's underwater. Like it would be right in front of him and they're just being over it. It's like the semis that lose their brakes going down the mountains. He's just going up the ramp.
He's not cornering. No, this guy's listen. Edwards doesn't have the arm or quite as much size as TVD, but he's much quicker. He's more agile. He's more mobile. He's more decisive. You can see him make people miss in the backfield, which is a skill set Wisconsin hasn't had since. Guys, help me. Cone a little bit, but not even really Cone.
Wilson.
I would compare it to Cone's ability to do it. Actually, I mean, he can do it a little bit better than Cone, but I think that's about the last time we had that. I think it's a really good point because it's a drive extender, right? Like he's avoiding a sack. He's also getting a 3rd and 7 where the coverage is good and he has to break down and run for 7 yards. He's get that. You can see that. You watch Maryland games last year. He did it a lot. Their film is plenty out there. We will be a better offense. We will produce more yards. We just will. I mean, and I know that the Big Ten numbers are different. He threw for 2,900 yards. Like we don't have that very often at Wisconsin. So, and that was at Maryland with a bad offensive line and no run game. So I really do think that there's a lot of upside. There is upside here. It's not ceiling, not super high ceiling, but the upside is definitely there with the pieces that we have around him.
All right, let's take one quick break. We got to talk defense line coming up. I still want to talk biggest remaining needs. I'm going to ask everybody what's their favorite portal signing so far. We got a bunch to talk about. Plus, I already have like 30 comments starred, guys. I'm going to keep Justin up all night. I already see him getting tired. Go get some coffee, bro. We're going long. This is Locked On Badgers. Today's episode brought to you by our good friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the ultimate source if you're looking for daily fantasy and you don't want some of the stress. Listen, it could be stressful being a Badgers fan, man. Let's not heap onto that. Like, get a daily fantasy platform that makes it simple and easy. You just pick more or less on a couple different players. That's all you got to do. And it's the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy. You want to talk injury insurance policy? I bet you Longo wishes he had that, but he didn't because he didn't play with Prize Picks. He didn't have Longo and TVD and Mordecai and Prize Picks. If he had, he'd be fine. That's what Prize Picks does for you. I love it because it's simple, it's fast, it's easy. I don't have to deal with a daily, weekly grind of everything. I play when I want. I just pick more or less two or more players. And you can win 100 times your cash over at Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Today's episode also brought to you by FanDuel, our good friends over at FanDuel. Rajiv, Justin, I want to ping you on this one really quick with FanDuel. What is the over-under on the Badgers next year for wins?
Oh, man. Probably preseason. I 5.5 or 6.
I think it's legitimately going to be 5.5. Yeah, it might be 6, but yeah, 5.5. It's not going to be 6.5. I don't think that's much too high. It'll probably be 5.5. Sadly,
not with that schedule and with how much unknown is in there for the Badgers. There's too much turnover at important positions to really get that.
And where are you guys going on that? You knew the follow-up was coming.
Over.
Raise the roof, baby. Let's go.
Man. Because when am I ever going to not take the over?
Right.
Never.
And I'm going to make that bet on FanDuel. Futures, parlay, spreads, teasers. It's where hope lives eternal. Hope springs eternal over on FanDuel. Please do it responsibly on the Locked On Podcast Network, the official sportsbook of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. New users get $5 bet. You win $150 in bonus bets guaranteed if you hit your $5 bet. All right, let's come back in the show. Let's talk defensive line. Justin, I'm going to tee you up on this one to start. And the question I put in the topics here, Portal Madness, is the D-line good now? Question mark.
Are we talking good as in that's enough, or are we talking good as in quality?
Either. Well, let's say good as in not as in enough, because we brought in 4 defensive linemen in this class, in the portal class so far, and Reiger's a bit of a linebacker defensive lineman, but is this going to be a solid unit next year if this is the group they bring in, plus what we have on the roster?
I think it will be solid. I think if people are expecting it to be good, that they're probably going to be let down. But I do think they're going to have a couple of 300-pound guys that are going to play really hard, that are not going to get pushed around like last year's group did. Petersen is a legit guy capable of, I don't know how he'll hold up to double teams, but one-on-one, he absolutely can handle a man in the Big Ten. And he's coming from a really good program. So he's been in a good culture. And then you have an FCS guy who is an All-American as a freshman. He's pretty disruptive. I think he's got a big body. Like, both are 6'3", 300. You probably want to get him up to about 310. And that's significantly heavier than what we had in that room last year. They get to 310. You're talking 2 guys that are 20 pounds heavier than what we had.
Mm-hmm. Rajiv, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got a chance to be okay. Obviously, we wanted to get bigger. Petersen brings a size. Perkins brings a size. I don't think they should be done yet. I want to see another tackle because that's the one thing that we know we need. Elijah Hills is going to be a big loss for us. Now, we could see Brandon Lane be better next year. We got other guys like Johnson. So I do think the room is in an okay spot. If we were done right now, I'd say okay, but I wouldn't be very happy about it. I would prefer one more tackle. Preferably with the more experience than Charles Perkins has, but a Parker Petersen, I thought that was a really good one. That's solid. If we get another Parker Petersen, I would be very happy. We will be better stopping the run next year just because of the beef that we have, and plus having a little bit more size. Like even Walker brings more size on the end. I mean, he's 270, so I think there's that piece of it, but it's still not quite what I would want it to be.
Am I the only person that feels like he kind of sticks out like a sore thumb? Like, I don't understand
which one
Walker is for this team, the defense based off what it is. But it seems like Reiger and him are going to be the same position.
I think he's going to be a situational end on very, run stopping kind of downs. He's going to be a guy that can probably set the edge more. I honestly haven't seen film on Corey Walker yet, so I can't really tell you what I think about him, his game particularly. But just in his size and profile, I feel like he is going to be kind of a run stopping defensive end where you've got to be able to set the edge a bit.
Let me throw this in a word out there. This is a word I was using earlier. Solid. It's similar to me with the quarterback thing. If you can get it's still not going to be a great defensive line. Make no mistake, we're not going to try to oversell this. But can it be more solid? Can you go from what you had last year to something that resembles a better rush defense that can put put an opposing offense in 3rd and 7? I think this unit can do a better job of that. It's still not perfect, and the young guys are coming, but this is a better unit. I think it's a little better size. Some of these guys are just kind of prototypical 3 techs. They're going to be stout against the run. I think that's kind of what I don't know. I think that's kind of what sorry, I'm looking at my list here. I think it's kind of what Corey Walker is a little bit. I think that's kind of what Petersen is a little bit. But that's good. That's fine. That's better than what you had last year. So if they can get solid, I think it's a win. But to your point, Rajiv, it's not a great unit yet.
Yeah. I think of Walker as more of a 5 tech, but yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to be interesting to see how they're used. But I will say I like the multitude of profiles, right? Like Reiger and Walker are different than the other, like, pass rushing kind of outside linebackers we have. We didn't really have prototypical defensive ends, and these guys really are that. So like to Justin's point yesterday about, we were talking about whether he's going to have 4 down linemen, we can run a lot of different multiple packages.
I think we will
our
see
defensive
them do
package.
that, to be honest.
Horses for courses, right? Like depending on who we're playing, what the strengths of that team are, you've got some versatility now. You can put your 2 down linemen and have your outside linebackers. You have your Heiberger and your Lafayelles and that kind of thing. Or you could go straight up 4 down linemen, run a 4-2, run a 4-3. I mean, it's really going to allow a lot of options. And depending on who's showing out, who's playing better, we can kind of, manipulate it for that too. So I do want one more. I want to be very clear. Another tackle. I would really like to see one more tackle.
To me, it depends on what they view of Lane. We need to keep in mind Dylan Johnson's going to be back and have another year under his belt, probably be 300 pounds this year. And if he's 300 pounds, he's probably going to be pushing one of these guys for a starting spot. And then you're looking at, that's 3 guys.
Oh, he's going to start. Johnson's going to start.
I know. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But so you got a 3-man rotation there. And then you're probably looking at, ideally, you have Lane, or you have one of the young guys who maybe shows out and steals that spot. Or maybe you split between the 2 young guys, and it's situational. But it's the same thing kind of on the edge, where I think Willer is going to be the same position as Walker. He's probably going to be, what is he, 6'3", 270? I would think that's probably what he's going to be this coming season. I think we're looking at this, it's going to be pretty well hashed out in terms of versatility. Like Reiger, Willer, and Walker are all kind of the similar guys for one position. And then you have your kind of field side guys in Anelu, Heiberger, probably Cheeks on that side, who are going to be more your just speed rusher. And then if you really have to go heavy, you can probably slide one of those guys over to the other side.
Who's your favorite guy in that group? Both you guys. With the 4 front 7 guys, and I'm going to throw Reiger in there, even though I think he's more of that edge kind of jack guy. Who's your favorite in that group?
Of the guys coming in? Mm-hmm. It's Reiger to me. It's not close.
Of the defenders, it's Reiger. My favorite guy is someone else, but definitely is it Reiger or Reiger? I thought it was Reiger, but
it's Reiger.
Yeah, I thought it was Reiger too. Okay.
So Reiger's my favorite. He plays with a kind of a passion that I love. I just think he's going to be a really energetic
player is going to be contagious for this defense.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's that like the kind of the heart, the passion he plays with, like the downhill, both sides. Like he's kind of a menace, and I like that.
Vince Beagle
if he's healthy and he brings that next year, that's gonna really be something that I think will permeate through the team. Yeah, I'm happy about him.
And then let's flip it around. You said not your favorite overall, but your favorite on defense. I'm guessing your favorite overall might be a tight end, potentially.
Tanner Koziol. Oh, dude, not like 94 catches. Come on, this guy.
It's not the long snapper?
Yeah, we did get one.
He was all SEC.
No, yeah, Tanner Koziol is definitely my top guy so far. I just think he kind of changes the game. It changes the game in red zone. I've talked a lot about red zone. I think that's something that people aren't talking about enough with him. Like that's a really nice safety valve to have all throughout the field. But the experience, I know that he played in the MAC. That's fine. Look at his measurables. Like he's a Big Ten kind of a guy. He had 94 catches in the MAC. He's going to have 40, 45, 35, whatever. He's going to be super productive. And that's the kind of guy that's going to play on Sundays. And he is going to be a really key part of, I think, what we do next year. I'm really happy about Koziol.
So on defense, my favorite actually is in Reiger. On defense, my favorite, it was Walker, just because you get him for 2 years. And he's healthy. He's got a clean bill of health. As much as we hope, Reiger does have a knee injury history. You get Walker
is 2, though.
Walker.
Guy. No, I'm saying Perkins is 2. He's a 2-year guy, too.
Oh, that's what I meant. Sorry, that's what I meant. I meant Charles Perkins. I apologize. 2 years on Perkins. He's already 305. He doesn't have the history of kind of the knee injury, which is a little scary. But he would probably be my favorite. I would also present to you our defensive lineman. Let me share this really quick. Our defensive safety that we just got, Matthew Traynor. And then I want to pick your guys' brain here. This little clip of Traynor almost makes me want to pick him as my favorite. That guy just looks like he was born to thump. Listen to Matthew Traynor, new Badger safety. Yeah. That might be my favorite.
I had no sound. Sound.
Neither did I.
Oh, I apologize. It should have came through. It's basically an 8-second clip that says, "I like to hit people." That's how.
Yeah, it shows on his film.
Yeah, it's dude. The guy, you know what? Trainer, I tell you, he's a plus athlete. First of all, which I really like about him. And
it reminds me of Zachman,
but
a bigger hitter.
The acceleration that he has, the way he sort of can speed up to go into at the point of attack, his burst. When he sees the play that needs to be made, he attacks so hard and he makes that play so aggressively. That's really cool. That's the kind of thing you see. Now I know it's a different position, but Leo Chanel used to do that, right? He would accelerate right before the point of attack to really make sure he made that play. And that's what I see on Trainor's film. I mean, obviously raw talent, but a lot to grow. But yeah, he's one of these guys that I feel like could really be a special guy, right? A special strong safety that really hits well. And he's got really good vision too. I mean, I feel like he understands the play and he watches the quarterback. He understands what's happening. Yeah, I really like his film and I think he could be a nice add because we need that in the safety room badly. Yeah,
physical guy, maybe more in the box. Oh, sorry, Justin.
No, I was going to say, I think he can do a little bit of both. He ranges in midfield in the back end pretty well. Like I said, he reminds me of Zachman, but he's a bigger hitter. He's a guy who's not afraid to come downhill and really thump somebody. I wish he would wrap up a little bit more at times when I watch him come downhill, because I'm like, one of these times you're going to hit somebody in the Big Ten that's a 230-pound running back that is going to bounce off of you and go for another 15 yards.
We call that the Kamoe Latu special.
Yeah, exactly. Or you'll just miss because you didn't wrap up.
Yeah, we that's what we call that one. I do want to put I want to ask you guys biggest remaining needs that you have. Talk on that a little bit, but I do want to put this up because we had several comments on here, and I think this is important. This one's from Raul, but we had a bunch of them. Thoughts and prayers to those impacted by today's news in Madison. Obviously, a lot of this fan base is centered around there. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, and it never gets political here, but I think we can all agree that's horrific and saddening and horrible. So, yeah.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers to everyone. It's a horrible situation, and hope no one was it's awful. It's all you can really say.
And there's no good transition from that. I'm not even going to try. But biggest remaining needs, I'll start here. They got to keep loading up in the secondary. They have to depth at corner. They need another safety. I agree with you, Rajiv. I would love another DB or another defensive lineman. I would like a big receiver, but bro, they need 3 more DBs. And to me, that's far and away the biggest need. And I think they need 3 more. Max Wolfe also into the portal today, by the way.
I completely agree with you. I still want a defensive tackle, but DB is definitely the need at this point. Quarterback and safety for sure. You need different kinds, you need different profiles. Yeah, Lofi going is just one more hit. I mean, you've lost Moore, you've lost Snowden, you've lost Lofi. I mean, Zachman, who knows? Zachman, can he come back?
But I haven't heard anything there.
Yeah. So
it would be nice if he did because he's starting.
It would be very nice if he did. But yeah, this is now because, we had said right away, I'd said D tackle, specifically tackle, but D line and QB, we got that. Tight end, excellent. Now let's go to the secondary and load that up. And I think we'll round out the class pretty nicely. Oh, and yes, love this comment from Sean Campbell. I said this yesterday too. Kicker, please get a kicker. Do not forget about the kicker.
I'm very curious. I know Ballard was on campus this weekend. We canceled a visit with JJ Harrell.
I saw that.
There's 2 ways to look at that. It's either Ballard committed and has not gone public, or something came up when they did the background check on Harrell and they're just thanks but no thanks. So
here's a question
here on that. I'm not saying he's he's a bad person. I'm saying background check can mean multitude of different things that there's a reason why they change their mind.
Well, and also in the portal, man, things move so quick. You're throwing offers out there like a big net, and sometimes you're like, okay, nope, we're good there. We actually got something else.
Or somebody new came in that you value higher.
100%. Or they give off vibes like it. That's speed dating. The transfer portal speed dating, which by the way sounds exhausting. I never had to do that. My 18th anniversary today, guys. My wife has somehow.
Yeah, congratulations, by the way. I saw that. But great, congratulations.
Thank you. My wife's a saint, absolute saint. I want to throw this question up here. This is a fun one. What would Billy Edwards Jr.'s what is his rating in EA Sports next year? Like 84?
I was going to say I was going to say 83, but yeah.
I would probably say 79 or 80.
Rasheed's like, oh,
it's fine.
I think he's probably low 80s. I think he'll be a low 80s guy. We talked about favorite transfer. Here's a question we got a bunch of times regarding either Mabry, Mettoyer, or O'Neal. Who is quarterback number 2 next year? I actually don't think it's that big of a question mark. I think it's Danny O'Neal.
Yeah,
it could very well be Danny O'Neal. I think this is going to, but I don't think it's going to get handed to him. I think we're going to find out in spring ball which one of them is going to be, and then we'll find out how far Mabry's come. I mean, he wasn't starting last year, but he definitely got a ton of reps at the end of last season, so he better come to play if he's sticking around. He has got to be a guy who's going to have to come in and really show growth in the spring.
Yeah, I think it's clear that O'Neal will be the number 2. I think he came here with the understanding. I've heard some things that he came with the understanding of being the number 2. And I think if he's not the number 2, he's gone after next year. That to me, that's he's not going to stick around. If he's the 3, he's in the transfer portal. So it's fine. I don't hate him for that. I mean, he started at San Diego State. Like if he's not going to be our second quarterback, then he should go somewhere else. So if he does have that job and it's not Mettauer, then yeah, I mean, I think he would stay. But I think it's O'Neal for now.
And if he's not number 2, it means Mabry's jumped him or Carter Smith.
Exactly.
But
which is fine. But which is fine.
100%. Here's the thing. You have to keep churning talent at the quarterback spot. They're not going to stay. They're just not. So you bring in a guy with experience this year, and if he bolts next year because Mabry or Carter Smith beats him out, cool.
It's fine.
Quarterbacks are never going to be happy. It's the worst position on the entire field because it's one guy. So you have one person that can start, and if you're lucky, you have one guy who can be the backup. So there's always going to be people that are upset. It's just the nature of that position. And there's always guys that are leaving. That's why we see so many of them in the portal. So, yeah, whoever doesn't get the number 2 job is going to not be happy after spring. We'll figure out who that is.
Zach Bart says, with the news of Little Lock decommitting, I don't know how I feel about calling him Little Lock. It feels monstrous. He's actually bigger. He's bigger than Braden. But Landon Locke did decommit. He was obviously Braden Locke's younger brother. I'm sure everybody watching the show knows that. Zach is asking, do we take a 3rd transfer quarterback? Personally, he says, I think we just take 2 in the next recruiting cycle. Justin.
I don't think we do. I think where we're at right now, honestly, it's kind of overstimulation. And I think even for the quarterback room, it would be overstimulation. Like you're getting to the point now where if you take a 3rd body, I think that does start to kind of get into the psyche of the quarterbacks that are in there and start looking at it, be like, what are we doing here? Where's my place? And I think you can get by with 4 guys in the spring. And you got Milo too, who's in that room, who is more than capable of being a guy as a body in there. So I'm fine with 4. Obviously, if you have something happen after the spring where somebody gets injured or whatever, you grab another guy. But I think you'll be fine with 4.
Yeah, I would
agree completely. We're done with 2.
I think with just a resource standpoint, you can't put that much resources into that position in the portal.
Yeah.
This is from Alan Saunders. You guys certainly don't want the young guys to play at the quarterback position. A couple people have mentioned, guys, you got to stop wanting to transfer portal guys. Rajiv, I see you jumping in on this one.
Yeah. So actually, I was going to make this comment earlier. This is the last year this can happen. Like I think that Locke was just so much worse than we were hoping he was going to be this year that we needed to get a transfer in there. And obviously, TVD only had the 1 year of eligibility anyway. I think this is the last time this happens, though. And I will say that, and I will stand by that. If this happens again next year, I'm not going to be happy. You have to have Mabry or Carter Smith or even a guy like O'Neal with more years of eligibility to play. You cannot be a 1 year rent a quarterback. That does not work long term. It's just not how we're going to sustain things. Good programs that build like you got to have a recruiting guy that you're in there that's developing. So I'm 100% on board with this. I will absolutely sit here next year. If we have a transfer quarterback, I will be furious with it.
Agreed. Like, here's the thing: you can't play a young guy if he's not ready. Like, if the ball's not up,
most teams don't play a true freshman or a redshirt freshman. Like, you might play a redshirt freshman. That's more common. True freshmen rarely play, and if they play, they don't play well. But next year, I think I would feel like I don't know any. We'll find out. We'll hear what we hear about Carter Smith in camp. But if Mabry's a redshirt sophomore and not ready to go, then we have to kind of start looking at him and saying, I don't know if he's got a place on the team.
Yeah, quarterbacks go quick now. They just do. We'll start wrapping up here, guys. I mean, we're not just, it's impossible just to get to every comment as much as I think we would all love to do that. But I do want to go round table. If there's any other comment you really wanted to put up or any last thought you guys had, as always, we kind of end with that round table. Bunch of people just here chilling in the chat, which is always amazing. You guys are incredible. A couple things coming up as I see if these guys have anything in. I just got a warning on my computer. Somebody's tracking me. That's fine. Whatever.
Like, I'm not moving, so good for them.
Probably the Lockdown Gophers guy. It's cool. So we are going to be doing a basketball meetup. I know I keep saying that. I'll get information into the Discord on that if you're in the Discord. And then, as always, we do a Christmas giveaway show. So gifts started arriving at the Herrings household today. Every year we have a big one, and it's just a way to say thank you to the community, like the LOB community that's been here like since I was recording with those cheesy headphones that everybody remembers that were like $9, and I looked like a goon. So we got a Melvin Gordon full size and helmet, autographed helmet this year, inscribed with his yardage totals. We got a Ron Dane autographed helmet. I think I have a Joe Thomas framed autograph picture coming up. I have a Bo Ryan autograph. A lot of good stuff as always. So
I've got a couple things on order as well for the giveaway. It's something I texted Ryan the other day. I was like, "Are we doing this show?" Because I really want to do it again. It's super fun. It's a nice way to say thank you to everybody.
That's all it is. Okay, guys. Any last thoughts on this, or any other comments you want to throw up?
Yeah, I think for me, my last thoughts are just kind of what I started the show with as well. I just think I know there's a lot of discourse about Edwards. There's a lot of people on either side of the fence here, but I think if you put yourself in Fickell's shoes, he saw what happened this year. He saw the reaction that fans, that alumni, and everyone had. Like, great comment, Jake. My hairline entered the portal. And we were making comments about the fans entering the portal. I just think that he needed to stop the bleeding, and that's what really, I think everything he's done so far. Jeff Grimes, Billy Edwards, getting another backup quarterback, getting a tight end. That's that kind of a safety valve. That word safe, there's again. The bigger 300-pound defensive tackles. Like, all these things are clearly a step. And he had a plan. He's like, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to raise the floor. I'm going to make this program legitimate again. And then I'm going to use the classes that we've recruited to take the next step and to push on to the playoff. I think when you look at it like that and you look at the whole picture, you take a step back, I think I'm happy with what he's doing. None of us are happy with the season we just passed. It was a complete disaster. All we can do is move forward, and I think he's giving us something to hold on to, certainly something for me to hold on to feel happy about moving as we continue through this offseason.
Yeah, Justin, that's really well said.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this as we needed to stabilize things, and they need to get a definitive level of play on the defensive side of the football to where even if the offense got better, you need to be able to stand up to certain teams. They had to get the defense capable of being at least a solid run defending team. Whether you can get to the quarterback or not, you cannot have teams like Iowa or Minnesota just run over you the rest of the season. And I think that was a huge goal. Like I said, we get down to 125 yards a game on defense. That's a significant difference. And that makes a huge difference against those two teams that forces them to have to throw the football more. And, well, Brosmer's gone from
that's good,
which is huge for us. And the running back from Iowa is gone too. So a big part of what those two teams had against us that gave them an advantage has changed significantly. Now it's our turn to kind of take it back and kind of get our ducks in a row and go out there and win a couple of these games that we kind of blew this last year.
Yeah, man, I think that's well said too. I would just finish up by saying, not all these guys are going to hit. We know that.
Yeah.
This is similar to recruiting. They don't all hit. This staff has been poor. I think that's fair to say at identifying and evaluating talent over the first 2 cycles.
In the portal, yes.
I think they've been poor, but the answer is you don't throw your hands up and just stop trying, right? You have to continue
Figure
to
out
add,
how to get better.
and you get better at it. I think they've really done a good job of identifying high floor fits for what this team needs, with the exception of maybe Koziol, which is like maybe the one high upside guy. So I like what they've done, but yes, not all of them will hit. And this team still needs more help. And guys, I think maybe you'll wrap it up there.
Yeah.
On Wisconsin, we have our quarterback Heisman season. Let's go. When you're done,
That's
you're
how
going.
you.
Yeah,
That's how
let's
you
go
end the
around.
show.
That'll get
Heisman
clipped
season.
too. Locked On Gophers will clip that. I don't know why I'm throwing shade to him. He's actually a good dude. Rob's a good dude. When you're done, you go check out Locked On College Football, Locked On Big Ten, all the biggest stories from the conference and the college football landscape over on those channels. On Wisconsin, we went a little longer today, but we signed like 5 guys, and we had 3 people on the show. And these guys are incredible. They're smarter than I am, and it's we could talk forever. On Wisconsin, we will talk later, because I never end